know this?
That old car's bugging us to go.
It sounds familiar.
Gotta get away and get back
Like 8 minutes ago.
again. Me and you and a dog named Boo, traveling and a living off the land. Me and you and a dog named Boo, how I love being
A free man.
me and you and a dog named Boo, traveling and a living off the land.
You know who this is? It's Lobo.
Lobo?
Lobo.
I don't know who that is.
He's a rock musician, kind of a folky guy, and that was a big hit in 1970 and won. Before either of us were here, Alice. My goodness. What do you know?
Wow.
That's right. It's a Lou Shattuck favorite, Alice, so we'll keep that ready. All right, a few things to talk about here. I really don't have any audio other than that. And the big news today we got was Breyer, Stephen Breyer, the liberal Supreme Court guy who gave his notice. Well, actually, he didn't. Somebody leaked it, which I believe is, and he's apparently ticked off because of it, that somebody leaked that he is stepping down this year. And so this, of course, which is my way of thinking, they pushed him out of the car. So once they leak it out, he can't really take any time or step back.
Well, Burn Barrel listeners know that Alice Shattuck predicted that Biden would attempt to do this several weeks ago to try and take the focus off his disastrous everything else that's going on.
Well, okay, that's fine, but he needs a willing
yeah,
justice to do
Breyer
it.
has to actually retire and not be angry at him.
So, two things. Who's going to be the new nominee?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think like a household name like Kamala. I mean, I've heard people saying Kamala. I mean, you'd have to look through. I bet
So this
it's going to
woman
probably be
Jackson
a
from
federal judge or
It
whatever.
is. There's a
Like,
woman, Jackson, who's a black woman who was appointed to the whatever appeals court in D.C., which is like where it's batting practice for this.
right.
And she apparently is the favorite, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Biden, why wouldn't you? By the way, we're gonna get to we're gonna talk about the Turtleboy Carano stuff as well, because there's been some questions on Twitter. I did talk to Aiden a couple of days ago, just kind of shoot the breeze about all this stuff. And I'm out. Won't make you wait too long, but I just want to get out of. I just want to say first that
Okay.
that as far as the Kamala stuff goes, I mean, I think why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you right now to shake it up? Why wouldn't you, Biden? You have her step down. She then ascends. She then has to go through the confirmation process. And remember, if she goes through the process, this is a person, Alice, during an election year now. This right here. This is a person who was. Hang on, I just got a text.
Hang
from
on,
somebody.
though. I don't see how they do that, though, because they need her vote to confirm somebody in the Senate.
Right. Well, they'll do it in that order. She'll be doing both things for a second. So she's gonna.
She's going to vote to confirm herself?
Yes.
Is that allowed?
Yes. Of course it's allowed. So listen to this. This is what's going to happen. She is going to. They're going to say, okay, Kamala's going to be the one. Kamala's going to step down. Kamala goes through the confirmation process. Now, remember, not only and Republicans should do whatever they can to make this happen. You've got, in an election year now, leading up to the election, you're going to have a confirmation hearing with Kamala Harris. She's not great on her feet.
She's also not a judge.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a judge.
No, I know, but I mean, like, it.
Alice, she's black. She's a black woman. That's all that matters.
Does she know anything about the law?
Jen Psaki said it again. Alice gives a flying F. Nobody knows anything about anything. Jen Psaki said today, once again, that Biden is going to be as cynical as possible and pick somebody on the basis of race. So in other words, not pick anybody from any other race. They don't get a shot, even if they're more qualified, because right now he's picking this race, which is not at all racist. So anyway, so you have her. So now, in an election year, you've got somebody who has been in with the wokies, somebody who was hugely with Black Lives Matter, somebody is hugely reimagine policing, somebody who was also right there.
Who is when she's not? I mean, like, as a prosecutor, she wasn't like a woke prosecutor.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what she did in San Francisco, 18 years ago. What matters is right now. So now you've got somebody who's defund the police, somebody who was promoting bailing out prisoners so they could go criminalize the community again in 2020. Remember, 2020 has turned against itself now. Everybody is now against that. People are just, good middle-class white people are deleting avatars everywhere they can find them, etc. So she will be the person who they're going to put up there, and they're doing it because she's terrible on the tickets. They want her away. So promote her somewhere nobody will ever see again, which is the Supreme Court. But so in the hearings,
on the Supreme Court.
In the hearings, there's a bunch of dummies in the Supreme Court. In the hearings, then, so Republicans now can go after her in the hearings, big time. They don't just go after her. Listen to this, Alice. They don't just go after her. She's got to defend all the woke stuff, all the cancel the cops, all the anti-police, all this terrible stuff from 2020 that people hate now. Mm-hmm. She's got to defend that. Not only that, but everybody running in state and federal office from every state is going to have to explain her and run and explain whether or not they endorse everything she says. So if we're dealing with a Congress right now, so she is dealing with so they're going to be dealing with a Congress re-election. So in other words, every Democrat's going to have to say yay or nay on this Supreme Court nominee from every congressional district, especially purple districts, who's a big anti-cop person, who's been as woke as they needed, freedom when they needed, and it's going to be terrible and make the incumbents, Democrats, and the people in this other districts have to make a decision that's very uncomfortable. So meanwhile, hold on, I'm not done. This is my plan. Meanwhile, we get out the Kavanaugh mugging playbook, and we take a little look at Kamala Harris and some of the friends she made back in San Francisco while she was in the Ascension. And you find a couple of good Republicans in safe seats, and you tell them, put the screws to her. Get us witnesses. Get them in here. I don't care how we're doing this. Get them here and get them to talk about Kamala and how she made her ascension. All the gritty details right here, the same they did with Kavanaugh. And just like with Kavanaugh, it didn't harm Democrats whatsoever. So we get to stick it back. We get to have a chance to shoot her down, especially since some senators are not going to want to have anything to do with her. And it helps with the midterms. It's the perfect storm. We want her. So, but
I mean, sure, but I don't
tell
think
Biden to do it. So what's going to happen now is then we have Biden like bring somebody else up. He's already said it's got to be for the Supreme Court, black woman of color. They've already satisfied the woman of color quota for the VP slot. So now all they need to do is probably find a fairly progressive guy. I mean, my pick would be for the administration somebody young, energetic, somebody who's had flashes of greatness. As a Democrat, I'm talking about. So remember what I'm doing here.
Like Cory Booker.
That's precisely right. Did you hear me today? Did you steal that from me today?
No.
Cory Booker. That's all I can think of, as a matter of fact. Not Castro, not the little bulldog-looking dude, Swalwell, although it'd be interesting.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be stupid enough to put her... Because nominating her to the court doesn't just tie him to her for right now. It ties him to her for life.
Doesn't matter. Terrible. She's gone if she's in the court. Nobody knows what Elena Kagan's been doing. Nobody knows. It doesn't go that deep. So that is my feeling. Allison, thoughts?
I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think
that's my feeling, and it's going to happen. You're wrong about that.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think certain Democratic senators, like Manchin, are going to make it clear to Biden that they're not going to participate in a vote where Kamala has to vote for herself to be nominated, first of all.
Well, there you go.
I don't think that's going to...
There you go.
And, like, I think that she's just an unserious pick. She's not, like, a person who I think he's going to pick a judge.
You've met Merrick Garland, right?
I mean, but Merrick Garland is, like...
Alice.
He's terrible, but he, like, on paper had the resume. Kamala does not.
She will give you icy blue stares all day. She will sidestep questions.
She's not going to want to do that, among other things. There's no TV cameras in the Supreme Court.
Well, there's audio now. She will sidestep questions. She will not study before the hearings. This is what we need to happen. I highly endorse Biden to do it. I will endorse Kamala on the radio for this position, particular job.
I don't think that that's going to happen.
All right, now
I don't think they're stupid enough to do that. I think he wants to pick somebody that he can say is non-controversial, totally mainstream, so he can get back to his, like, I'm Mr. Normal, Decent, Good, and I'm going to nominate normal, decent, good people, not like evil Kavanaugh and evil Clarence Thomas. Like, he's going to pick somebody that
That
he can
sensibility, Alice, has withered and fallen off the Biden tree. He doesn't have that anymore. Now, one quick thing. You know, we'll get to the Turtleboy stuff now. So I'm going to depose you because people have been asking online.
Okay.
And Kirk Minahan's show today, they talked about it.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I haven't been following this that closely.
It's okay.
I know that you
Alice,
have.
Stop
Okay.
dodging before we get there.
Sorry, I'm just
Okay.
saying I'm upfront
Okay.
that I don't know.
One,
what's
were you
going on.
involved in the canceling of Turtleboy on the Jerry Callahan podcast?
I was
Be
not.
truthful.
I didn't do anything. I don't know about this. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So the
Keith.
question on social media is this. The question is this: did Carano have any? So Carano has iced out Turtleboy. Aiden
Okay.
is what has happened here, and I think you know that much.
Yeah.
Apparently Carano said to Jerry that he won't work with him on the air anymore. I guess Jerry doesn't want to have to find another producer, so he's like, okay, maybe Carano will cool down. Whatever. It seems like
But I
blame
thought
sharing.
Carano said he would produce. He just wouldn't talk.
I heard that too. I don't know how that works. How those semantics work. So you're gonna turn off your video and pretend you're not around, but that's fine. But so some of the speculation was that that Carano canceled you from the show. Is that true?
Carano didn't do anything to me. I'm fine.
Well, why aren't you in the Jerry Callahan show Solar System anymore?
I have a different job.
Well, okay, but you used to be on Jerry's show, and then now you're not. Why is that?
I did. I filled in a little bit when Jerry needed help. That's all.
Okay,
That's fine.
okay,
What are you looking for me to say, honey?
okay. So, were you interested in having that job? Maybe toying with it as more of a commitment.
I mean, at the time, if Jerry had asked me, I would have thought about it. But I don't know that. I mean, like, I'm better off where I am now, so I'm not like upset about it.
Okay, so you don't feel that you were forced out.
No.
Simply, Jerry, there were a few of you guys who were filling in here and there, kind of fill in / try out, maybe, whatever.
Yeah.
But it probably didn't look like you've got commitments, homeschooling, kids.
I have a lot of stuff going on.
Now you have more stuff than even
Right.
then. Right. Okay. So you weren't forced off the show.
I was not forced out.
Okay. Would you do fill in if you were asked to now?
If I could make it work time-wise, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough question. I have
You
more
couldn't make
stuff.
it work time wise. I can tell you guys right now that her day is wiped, which is
Anyway, yeah.
All right. So the other thing is that people ask me if I was forced out because of Carano, and that is not true. I left when Dave was still there, and I got a full-time gig in radio, which is on the same time Jerry's show is, or I'm doing show prep.
You can't.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
If Jerry was doing the show at night, then I could do it, and I'd love to do it. I miss being on the show. I miss those. I missed all those times. It was fun. It was fun. I listened to Jerry's podcast.
Yeah, I thought people saying we were canceled meant that, like, they meant the chicken thing.
Oh, really? Oh, so that's another thing that we should bring up then, if that's what they meant.
Maybe. I don't know if that's what that means.
Okay,
but
so
he did try to cancel our chicken.
yes, out of nowhere, we were selling little Jerry Callahan T-shirts, and out of nowhere, the moment Jerry's merch was launched by Carano, our merch was suddenly flagged and banned or canceled from our merch provider.
Yeah.
Because somebody had complained that it was essentially a copyright infringement.
There was a complaint that
Right.
our shirt was taken down the day that Bug the Chug came out.
Right.
On Bug the Chug's launch day, little Jerry Callahan got taken down for copyright infringement.
Right.
So, which, to be clear, Matt Carano denies because he says he's a libertarian and doesn't believe in intellectual property law anyway.
Right. But also...
But also, it was a pretty big coincidence that it was that day.
Right, and the icing out of Turtleboy does not seem like the normal thing necessarily a libertarian would be doing. And so you can come in here and grab that if you'd like to. Okay, and then we'll talk about this afterwards.
Yeah, can we discuss it after? Here.
Okay, grab
Can
it
you
and
take
go.
this, please? And
Thank you.
okay. Talk to his siblings mostly.
It's
It's a sibling-related conflict.
it's a sibling and screen-related conflict.
I'm gonna take them all away again. Weren't things
Yeah,
better when
we've-
they were all gone forever?
It totally was. I talked about that today on the air.
Okay,
Too.
then I'm
But
going back
before,
to that.
let's save that for a bit because
Okay.
I want to get back to that. But another thing is this: as far as the whole thing with Carano and Turtleboy, etc. As far as what I can tell, is from what he tweeted, what Carano tweeted, that it appears in his tweet to suggest that he doesn't like stuff going on in Turtleboy's life, and he doesn't want any of it to rub off on the show or whatever. Or
He said on him.
on him. Well, frig, screw. I
Because
think
that's
that's
what's-
unacceptable.
Because that's what's weird is that, I mean, like I said, I have not followed this that closely, but my vague impression from what I've seen, like floating around there, is it seems to me like this isn't about the Jerry Callahan show, like, because Carano's not in charge of who's on or off the Jerry Callahan show, and he says he'd be willing to be the producer. He's just not going to be on air because he personally doesn't want to be associated with the Turtleboy brand. But that seems odd to me.
It's not only odd, but it's very establishment media. It's like Channel 7 doesn't want to either. The Boston Herald doesn't want to either. The Globe doesn't want to either. But for a bunch of reasons. A lot of these people have grabbed Turtleboy's scoops and not given him attribution, and he's then torched them, and then a bunch of millennial reporters start crying. So, it's not necessarily the best form of diplomacy as an independent journalist to do that, but it sets the record straight and establishes ground rules. I never had a problem with that. I never had a problem with... I don't care what he does. There's all sorts of salacious stuff written by other Worcester bloggers. I mean, the whole thing seems like a Mos Eisley to me.
Sure, but
who cares? I don't care.
But I feel like what's odd to me is sort of the, like, Carano being in the Twitter conflict over it, Turtleboy not being on the show, and Jerry not saying anything. And I get why Jerry has to kind of, like, be above the whole thing, right? That he can't be involved in the dispute. But it seems to me that somebody needs to, like, make a judgment call on what's going on with the Jerry Callahan show and lay down the law about what the narrative is coming out of the Jerry Callahan show about what's going on. Because right now, there's Matt Carano's version of events and there's Turtleboy's version of events. And they're fighting about it on Twitter. And the official Jerry Callahan show does not appear to be taking a side, which is what's weird to me.
Well, that's Jerry, which obviously, so it matters. If somebody's going after Jerry's sponsors because he's dealing with Turtleboy, which I don't think they are, I haven't heard that they are, but I would understand how that would make you go, how do you at once reach out to your friend Aiden and say, buddy, just give me a second while this cools down, and also try to, like, work on softening things there, or maybe there's something in one of the Turtleboy things that the people are going after him for that needs to cool down.
Right,
but I think he had shown Carano that one of Carano's concerns had been taken care of with some police department. But once again, I would have Turtleboy on tomorrow if there was something pressing to talk to him about. We had him on last week or 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I'd have him on my other show. I don't give a flying frig if he's involved in some scandal in Chicopee, Massachusetts, or who cares?
Well,
He's
right,
a journalist.
people-
I care about his end product.
People
the
are going
news
to
that he
write
brings
about
out.
his personal life because he writes about other people's personal life, and he's going to be in arguments like that because that's just his, like, style and brand of journalism, which it is what it is. But, it's not like he was something different when he started being on the Jerry Callahan show.
Right.
The
You're
brand
totally
has
right.
has remained consistent this whole time.
Right. Jerry
Like-
picked him up when he was untouchable by mainstream media already, and
And in
that-
fairness, Turtleboy wrote about Bob Murchison when that story was untouchable by mainstream media.
yes, and I was right there when
Other news outlets.
I was right there in another news outlet when Kirk and Joey were reaching out, and unfortunately, my outlet didn't do a whole lot of help at the time for 1,000 million reasons. But so Aiden actually did him a real solid, really kind of helped him out. which was you know, a good important thing, which I'm sure Kirk will never forget, because somebody needed to say something about that incredible thing, this collusion between the Globe and some wacko, and you know, trying to destroy this guy's Kirk and Jerry's
But
life.
it just seems like there's, to me, there's like an odd vacuum of an official statement coming out of the Jerry Callahan show. Like, does Matt Carano speak for the Jerry Callahan show
Right.
when he's tweeting, or
It's
does he
almost-
not? Because that's up in the air, because you've now got Turtleboy out there saying that Jerry's telling him something different than what Matt Carano is saying. And
right.
that's,
And
I
it's-
feel
it-
like that's problematic for
Right.
the show as a whole. And I
So-
mean, I don't know, but there
so-
has to be
so-
like some resolution to this
Jerry
whole thing.
Callahan's show needs to assign a CEO to start answering questions. One that I don't know who it should be, but somebody should, because you're hearing a subordinate.
There needs to be a Jerry Callahan
Make
press
official-
secretary.
Well, sure, but I mean, is somebody who would have more authority.
Right.
So yeah, if there was somebody, I'm not even sure. Make one up, Jerry. Because you know, I don't know. I do recall like talking to Jerry, and I did know that he had talked about. We had talked about. I think that he was at least maybe a year ago, whenever it was that I got the other job, that he had been thinking about more of the. I talked to somebody around him. Might have been Cullen. It might have been him. I don't think it was Carano, but that Jerry had been thinking about more of the Ben Shapiro model and less of the co-host thing.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? He's probably had all sorts of incarnations of what he's been thinking about along the way. But I mean,
But I mean, if that's the case, then just say that too. You know, like whatever the official statement that comes out of the Jerry Callahan organization is, there needs to be something that's like, this is it, because nobody begrudges anybody's right to make a decision about like what direction they want their own podcast to go in, right?
right.
But the problem is you can't like be telling people one thing and have your producer saying something else publicly and like not resolve it.
I mean, it's not a great way to do it, but it was. You know, what's funny, Jerry. In that, well, Jerry comes from a company that he worked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was very much the template back there that they would just withhold information, and people would be like, "Where is everybody? You're not going to tell us where everybody is?" And like, "Yeah, we're not telling." That's so that is that.
It's like the Office Space guy that they sent to the basement or whatever.
Well, kind of, yeah. It's just like it's a very public-facing company, but I don't know. I think that if Jerry wants Aiden on, then he should have him on. And I also think that there's no reason to not have him on. Who cares? I'd have him on. And I don't know if any of this stuff about him is true, and any of this. It seems to me the guy goes to parts of the state that I would never want to be in, and digs up a lot of stuff. You know, he does a lot of stuff from pretty places too. But this guy works the streets a lot. And so you meet some seedy characters in there.
Well,
and
he pulls no punches, so he
Right.
has a lot of people that don't like him, which
Right.
I also get. If he'd written about me, I probably wouldn't like him very much either. But you do run into that with Turtleboy. Like, I've had that when I send his stories to people, and they'll go like, "Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
not Turtleboy. He wrote about my cousin's brother's
Yeah, he
third
doesn't-
wife and
he
this
doesn't-
and that," and like,
he
you know.
doesn't confine himself to the AP style book when he writes.
So, yeah.
Being categorized as a certain level prostitute is probably a new sensation for somebody who's the subject of certain of things. But I mean, that's a style.
But you know, it does like but that was his style before he was on the Jerry Callahan podcast.
I mean, the thing
also.
that they should do.
Uh-huh.
The thing that they should do is have Turtleboy and Carano work it out in Jerry's show.
Well, that's
It
what
would be-
Turtleboy said like 1,000 times.
Right.
And Carano says no.
They should do it somewhere. Or why are you going to waste this?
He doesn't want to be associated.
Well,
with
what
him.
is... I don't get that. Then what is Carano doing? What is his role then to protecting a new franchise? Is this...
No, he's not protecting the Jerry Callahan show. He's protecting the Matt Carano brand.
Well, I mean, then I would say that it's up to Jerry to respectfully say, okay, well, it's been fun, but I need somebody whose priority is the Jerry Callahan brand. not
Well, yeah, but
the
that's
movie
why,
show.
like, if there has been an internal discussion at the Jerry Callahan podcast board meetings about protecting the Jerry Callahan podcast brand, and that's the decision, then, you know, somebody should reach out to Aiden and let him know that too. Then.
So the Carano doesn't keep taking incoming and God knows what else.
Because that's not the impression that's been given except by Matt Carano alone by himself, not as a representative of the Jerry Callahan podcast, which is odd to me. But I don't know. What do I know? I don't know.
You never know. Anyway, I don't know. I don't really know Carano, but you know, we've been mildly aggrieved by this whole process. And
I don't feel that aggrieved.
no, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, I like the.
I have no
I've had
problem
no.
with Carano. He came on the 1570 project. He seems fine. I just don't understand what's happening right now, but that's fine.
Oh, that's right. He was in the 1517 project. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, who knows? I don't know what it is. You know, it could be. It could be that Matt is new to these circles, and you could have a lot of people. You know, you know that I've had conflicts with other fairly high levels of media outlets in New England
Mm-hmm.
about citing Turtleboy on stuff and never using him in the past few years.
Yeah.
And there are passions and lawyers are involved in all this stuff, and you know, I used him. But man, the viciousness and heat of people who are very upset that you ever associate with this guy is big. And I don't know, maybe Carano's feeling that some of that stuff from places, saying you can't do, you don't understand, it's going to ruin your reputation forever and whatever. I mean, if he is sensitive to it, then I would think that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing, because even though
But
I mean
he's in like the KMS universe, sort of, right? Like, isn't that also like aren't people mean in that fan world too? Like,
yeah, I don't
get
know
it.
what I don't.
You would think
yeah.
that being in that like fan universe and having a spin-off show to that and whatever, that would be like that would harden your skin a little bit, right?
You would think so, but maybe not. Maybe not. I just don't understand that is he reading about Aiden's personal life and saying this guy is made? Is there like a morality
I don't
clause?
think so. I think probably
But
he's
said in
just
that
getting
tweet,
tweeted
yeah,
at
but
by people.
Alice, he said in tweets that he seems to be having a lot of problems or something.
Yeah, he said he's like spinning out of control.
Yeah.
or something.
Well, who cares if he's spinning out of control? You book him, you know. You book
But
him for content. Aiden shows up every week. Book him for content. That's fine.
Didn't
What
that-
Aiden does when he's not on the show, who cares?
Didn't that used to be a thing about Carano too? That he like blocked a lot of minifans or something?
I think
Did
so.
people complain
Maybe
about
that's-
that before in
That
the
sounds
past?
familiar.
It sounds vaguely familiar to me too, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Maybe he's just sensitive to Twitter criticism.
if Jerry's show, I think it's doing pretty well. I hear more ads on there than ever. Aiden was floored, by the way, that we're not full of ads. He said, I'm sure that I heard ads on your show. I was like, yeah, you've heard spaces where there would usually be ads on the show. I understand. The mind is trained to assume that, but our sales staff is lacking, unfortunately.
They've been slacking off.
Well, that's my job.
reassigned
I'm
you to the sales
That's right.
department.
I'm director of sales now. Both directors of sales have had equal amounts of success. There has been no problem with their. I want to be the biggest unsold podcast in the world, Alice. So far, we're not the biggest, but we're on. Approaching 500 episodes. All right, so let's do some other stuff here. Anything that comes to mind. If you guys want to ask more questions about that stuff, I think we answered everything that people know. I just don't. I don't have a sensitivity to like anything Aiden does on his own or what he does to get story. I don't care if he's stealing stories or if he's using drones to intercept stories or if he's going through trash or slithering around somebody's house while the family's having Thanksgiving. I don't want to know what he's got to do to break news. I know he breaks news. Okay? So that's it. I don't care. I don't judge him on any of that stuff.
No, he breaks real news that gets picked up by like CNN
Gets stolen,
and places.
exactly.
Like, I mean, seriously, he is what he is, right?
Yes.
But
There's the Globe, the Herald, and Turtleboy in Massachusetts.
I mean, and you could make an argument that the Globe and the Herald don't do that much news anymore themselves, to be honest.
You could make that argument.
Volume-wise, Turtleboy may break more actual local news than both those papers put together.
Yes.
Um,
So let's go down to I just wanted to do one thing on in Connecticut. The Connecticut Supreme Court ruled that these gyms are not allowed to have women only sections. So a big gym called the Edge Fitness had a women only section. So a lot of women feel there are both Muslim and Jewish women who, for whatever
okay.
they're not allowed to be seen in certain positions doing the certain things that are. And then there are other women who just want to be able to do stuff without guys ogling them, because guys do. Guys will look at women in skin tight stuff, obviously, as much as they can get away with, and then a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Not Tom Shattuck, because I don't wear my glasses, so I don't have that problem, because I'm faithful to my wife. And Terry Garr's not a member of my gym. But so now they've ruled that you can't have these women's only spaces. And I actually had a woman call in today while I was on the topic saying, hey, by the way, I belong to a gym where they can do it. It's called Edge Fitness. It's like, uh-oh, sorry to tell you, you just lost the case. But I had a lot of people say, no, that men and women should be equal. If you're a woman and you want to do stuff, want to go to a gym, you don't get your own wing, just do it from home then if you want that stuff. And I stood with the idea that women and girls just give them somewhere where they can be sure they're not going to be effed with.
I mean, not every gym should have to legally provide women's only areas, but if a gym wants to have women's only hours or women only areas or be a women's only gym, like my mom goes to a women's only gym. I don't know, I don't get what the problem is with that. If an establishment wants to cater to one gender and provide that type of space, I'm like, I don't get what the problem. What does it hurt you? There's a million other gyms. Somebody's going to have a gym out there that you can go to.
Right.
There's no problem. I don't see
So not surprisingly, 2 men started this lawsuit last year using a law firm that specializes in LGBTQ plus A stuff. So that's what this is.
Great. Okay. Super.
So, right. This is because they're going to break down gender in any single place. But once again, this is really about erasing women. Another thing, erasing women.
Right. Is it women want something and people don't want them to be able to have it.
Right.
And the same thing, I feel the same thing when women try and join men's things too. Can't the men have a thing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Men's clubs and stuff that women want to join sometimes. And I just why can't you leave them alone and let them have a men's club?
Well, isn't the whole thing that, it reminds me much of when Minahan was starting his new podcast, and Shirley Lung said, my worry about Minahan starting his new podcast is that he'll be able to say anything he wants. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
We don't want there to be women's spaces where these women can say, these biological women, birthing people, can say anything they want and act the way they want and be exclusive to themselves. We want to make sure, no, we're not allowing that. Just like with the men's clubs, we don't want guys to sit around drinking and carousing and probably being chauvinistic. No, we want in there too. And then they go in and change the bylaws of the club, of course. Then the club sucks and it just goes away. But, isn't that what it is? Isn't it a psychological thing? No. You don't get to just...
No, some people can't stand the idea that there's people out there somewhere doing things without their input on how they're doing them. It just bothers people that, that Minahan could be out there somewhere having a podcast without Shirley Lung having veto power over it.
Right, because he's saying dangerous things. Things that she doesn't believe in. Things that she and her friends find kind of gross, as a matter of fact. Which is why she was against it when he was saying it on the sports show on WEI with Jerry, even though she was never a listener to the show.
Neither was Bob Murchison.
Right, it's just that it was ever said. She doesn't want it to exist. We don't want this speech to exist. We don't want this even acknowledgement, this glaring, gaggle of biological females to act like they're the only ones who are female. We want our females, named Jack, to be able to be just as female as them, with them doing the female things too.
Well, that's why and I think it's telling that this comes out of the LGBTQIA whatever legal movement, and that like the Bob Murchison thing happened over the trans stuff too, because these issues in particular seem very sensitive to this. Activists around gender and trans issues seem to be very concerned about what's going on in other people's heads. They are not happy with like their rights on paper, or no one bothering them or leaving them alone, or that, you know, their friends and people they're close to don't care with what kind of surgery they got or whatever. It really bothers them that someone out there somewhere thinks that they're not the gender they believe they are. And they go around like seeking out people that are committing thought crimes about it and trying to make sure that they never say anything out loud, because it really bothers them that someone out there doesn't believe them, you know? And it's like, it's really like a mental illness thing. I don't, you know, that they can't handle it, that someone out there thinks something different than they do.
It at some point, and that's the thing, is that, like, that's the problem with this argument specifically, is that why we had people saying, you know, I'm a second wave feminist, and they make a good point. And one woman said, I'm a second wave feminist, and if I'm working out in the gym and some dude is gawking at me, I'm going to go up to him and say, cut the bleep. That's what feminism is. Owning your own physicality, owning your own person, being assertive. And there's something to that. And there's no quicker way to make a guy beeline it and blush and, you know, hit the fetal position than being busted for you know, gawking at a woman. I mean, they don't generally see it. Right?
I mean, I don't know.
Do you remember when our
What?
Do you remember when our the ballet teacher caught me? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Sally's ballet teacher? You saw the video, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Tom
so embarrassing. God, it was so embarrassing.
Tom really wanted Sally's ballet class didn't let parents come be in the class because some of the parents are annoying, like Tom. And so Tom...
So hold on. So, but there was one door where parents could wait and see through. But these freaking hen broads, mothers, would all be... Their heads would be through the window. So I had no place to look anyway. So I couldn't see them. So, because they were hogging the window to watch their daughters, and I hated these ladies. So then I managed to peer between their ears, and I could see across the gym, closer to where my daughter was doing ballet, there was another door, which is like on the other side of the church where they like do AA or whatever. So I got out, went on the other side of the church. I get up, I like through the back, through some furniture that's like storage. I find that door, and I start recording my daughter. And then out of nowhere, like the sand people, the freaking ballet teacher head goes right in front of the window in front of me. It says, pardon me, pardon me.
Well, I'm glad, because if some big weird creep were filming my daughter in ballet class through a window, I'm glad that she's on top of it.
But I whimpered. You could hear. We should get the audio at some time. I'm like, oh my God, so sorry. I felt like what I was doing is wrong too. My daughter's in there. I'm so sorry. I was like, right on what a peeping Tom says before the cops come. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm glad that she's that on the ball that she
could recognize the two and say, okay, this guy is dumb and irresponsible, but not a garden variety peeping Tom, was filming his daughter, and that is true. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so let's see. So there's that, and one of the other things that we talked about today, I just want to bring up because it really has to do with this show too, is that in Connecticut, a teenage girl killed herself because, well, her mother, she's suing them because she was addicted to Snapchat and Instagram. And it's interesting, the lawyer who is handling the case, suing Snapchat and Instagram, is this guy, Matthew Bergman.
These are addictive products, particularly in the hands of a child whose brain isn't completely developed.
I also found a news story out of Washington State that's very similar to this story out of Connecticut. So this is across the country.
Local mother, the latest to take social media companies to court, claiming their practices got her daughter addicted to social media with devastating effects.
In March of 2020, in the days leading up to Oregon's first stay-home order, Brittany Doffing's daughter turned 14. While the state was essentially shut down, Doffing says the outgoing teen was isolated from friends, so she bought her a smartphone.
First
She
mistake.
lost all connections with their.
By the way, thanks government. Thanks government, and thanks Fauci and everybody not to use your time to say, hey, by the way, make sure your kids don't escape into social media. That'll be very unhealthy. Not a damn bit of guidance on that. No, we're locking down
Well,
now.
social media, I think probably a lot of parents thought that it was better for kids to be able to talk to their friends on social media than not to see anybody at all, because it's sometimes like hard to remember how far we've come. But in those initial lockdown days, all the parents were saying there was like hashtag this is not a snow day. Don't let your kids play with each other or see other people because, you know, we don't want to spread the illness. So,
Right.
So the
No.
only way your kid had to communicate with the outside world, unless you were just rule breakers like us who expanded our bubble to include other people right from the beginning, that you know, your kids weren't seeing literally anybody else unless they were on social media talking to people. Of course, kids are terrible to each other on social media.
Right, but even in best case scenario, not only kids are terrible, but social media became, especially for this girl, the only way. And social media, texting each other or snapping each other is not an adequate way to communicate. You
Right.
don't get all the validation you need. You don't get the reinforcement you need. You know, we've had it before sometimes. I remember when I used to, back when I was dating somebody far less superior than you, inferior, that we used to use instant messenger to say check in with each other. And it was always a fight when it took 26 seconds to reply. Like, why aren't you replying? I'm
Yeah,
waiting
or you
for-
could see that someone was active.
Right. Oh, totally. So there's ways. And
They would like come back from being inactive. They would go from being italicized to like alive again. And you'd be like, how come they're not responding to me? They've been active now for 3 minutes. They haven't answered my
Right,
message.
it just causes trouble, and that was when it was just nice instant messenger, nice and easy. Now there's 1,000 ways to not get that. Not only that, but if you're now on Instagram, then you've got an audience of potentially thousands, potentially millions. And a 15, 13-year-old girl, what kind of feedback can you get? You're putting pictures and videos of yourself out there. I mean, just saying hello or whatever. Of course, you're going to get that kind of feedback for somebody who's never been told anything bad, suddenly getting the most vicious people in the world, spending all their time trying to hurt them. It's like I blame government. I certainly blame the parents. I mean, somewhat. I don't know nobody's, but we've seen it. We are bad parents right now. What you guys just saw
was us buying off our kids so that we could do this podcast.
Exactly. So they're now fighting over screens. One of that guy right there was crying a couple of times.
But I did completely cut them off for several weeks, and it was better when they didn't have them at all.
But unfortunately, sometimes we have to give them the catnip that allows us to do stuff.
Well, they're going to disappear again for a little bit.
Our very well monetized podcast, Alice, is very important. So that's it. But I think that first of all, both of these stories happened during.
But I don't want people to think that our kids sit on devices 24/7
Alice,
because they
that's
don't.
right. We're really good parents. Okay, don't worry, Alice. Don't be Carano. Don't worry about what the Twitter world thinks.
But it's true. They lived without. I take them away frequently. I time limit them and I hide them. They didn't even find them in the most recent hiding place. I'm just saying.
I understand.
Some of us are good parents.
Yes, I am not. Alice is. But anyway, we're going to have this reckoning here about what the hell we did during this, because both of these stories of these young girls happened during COVID.
Well, don't you think that now the push is on, like the way that they're talking about it, they're going to try and get the social media companies to like regulate these like cigarettes? Don't you think they're trying to use like the same language? Like these are addictive products for young people and blah,
how
blah,
about
blah.
that, Alice? I think that you're hitting the bigger picture here, is that the social media companies take the fall.
Right.
So it wasn't the shooter, it was the gun.
Right. So now there's this bill out, Klobuchar has a bill that's that just came out that to regulate the social media companies that, among other things, would make like Amazon Prime illegal and other things because it can't they can't.
Way too
It
many
doesn't-
people never have to worry about batteries anymore, so we're going to end that.
So no, but it basically makes it so the social media companies like Apple can't, lock up their systems so that it's all like Apple, and they don't want the social media companies able to create their own ecosystem that's totally self-contained and has no competition within it. You know what I mean? So, which I mean, like, I think, and I don't want conservatives to be fooled by this and sucked in, because I think there is an appetite on the right to regulate the social media companies, rightly so in a lot of ways, but I think it's something where the how that's done is extremely important, because regulating the social media companies under a Biden administration is never going to be positive for people on the right. It just is not. And like, I wouldn't want to see conservatives who believe in regulating social media companies more make some kind of deal with the devil and really screw up the internet forever, because I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I mean, I don't know that that Klobuchar's bill is certainly going to be positive.
No. The answer is what the left has done the last 2 years has been catastrophic, and they need to blame something, not themselves. Even though they effed up badly, we told them every single day, and all they did is deride us and call us criminals and white supremacists for doing it.
But I mean,
You not? Let's say something.
well, I was going to say, I think that there needs to be a cultural shift in the way that we use social media in particular, the same way. I mean, cigarettes aren't gone from public life because of tobacco laws, although certainly those things, helped usher it along. But smoking became socially unacceptable in a lot of scenarios, don't you think? And like day class A, and like people just don't do it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it probably, definitely.
I mean, I think that people need to have like a heart to heart. I can't believe the number of people who have Alexa devices in their house and like let them record all their stuff. They save those recordings. If you go to Amazon and you ask them for all their data, they'll send you the recordings of every time you said Alexa, whatever.
Holy God.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's incredible. There needs to be some kind of cultural shift where we, make a decision that we're not going to willingly sell ourselves and our data to these companies all the time, because that's what gives them power over us. It's not, the government didn't give them power over you. You give them power over you. Anyway. You can find us on Twitter. If you want to yell at us about Turtleboy or whatever, you're more than welcome to. That is at Burn Barrel Pod.
Who would yell at us? We're the good guys.
Our reputation is ruined forever.
We're pro TB.
No, I'm saying the people who yell at Carano. Worcester, whatever, 579, who yells at Carano about what a bad reputation Turtleboy has or whatever.
Oh, really?
I'm saying, like, the people that have some big problem with Turtleboy, you can come yell at us on social media. And I'm not going to promise I won't mute you. I'm not going to promise I'm going to read all your tweets, but you're welcome.
Man, you fight dirty.
You're welcome to tweet them. And that's at Burn Barrel Pod if you want to do that. You can also find us at facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast or burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can email us. That's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on YouTube. We're on Rumble.
C'est la vie.